heart attack, fast fatal heart impact, past painful scars. In fact, I blast tasteful bars and packs. I back up my actions, fact don't ask, grab reactions, jacked attack with every word, then act with class as they hear me snap. I got nothing to lose, cause I fought and felt the bruise. Now I'm not the one confused, call the shots and they produce. I ain't lost, I'm finally loose, pick a new silver excuse. I need the views to boost me to a new abuse of being used. Everybody wants a piece now, y'all can rest in peace now. You're dead to me, so peace out. Remember, you're discreet out. Get ready for defeat now.
Alrighty. Hello everybody. This is Kiru's show here. And before we do begin, I'm going to be trying to post again. However, I may not have a set schedule, like always. But I mean that by I might be posting a video today, but I might not post one tomorrow, because of what is currently going on in my personal life. Anyways, let us begin. Whenever we last left off, we had Meliodas of the Ten Commandments. He wanted to give Midoriya a test to see whether or not he's, well, what's the best word to say? Worthy of his time and his focus. Midoriya himself doesn't seem to be all that much. The kid is naive and reckless. That's all Meliodas thinks of him. However, he does not know that Izuku has already met with Merlin. He knows that he went to a hero agency, along with that little doll from the Fairy King's forest. Now, he has wanted to look into the goddess before, and he's just been keeping an eye on Midoriya, seeing what he does. He will leave sometimes, but he always does try and keep a note on him. Now, with that being said, we will cut to the party. Everyone is there, and at least having a bit of fun, talking with each other and trying to, well, I guess relax would be the best way to say it. Well, you do have Midoriya, who is currently just sitting in a chair and has his arms folded on the table, while he is trying to rest up a little bit. His stamina is not doing well right now. And you do have all the girls asking Midoriya for a dance, seeing whether or not he wants to even enjoy the party. Midoriya having to look up and basically explain. Oh, sorry girls. It's just been a very tiring day. Oh, come on, Midoriya. Yeah, come on, man. Kendo goes on stating, along with Toru. Mina going on to ask if Midoriya doesn't want to dance, he could just say so. To which Deanne does actually go on explaining. Midoriya may have wasted a great amount of energy today. Everyone going on to look at her. As Midoriya, he closes his eyes for a second. And Deanne goes on stating that Midoriya broke up into over 11 to 12 different people. Think about it like this. Each one of us had a Midoriya, did we not? Wait, you're actually right. Yeah, she does got a point. And then, not only on top of that, but there was also a Midoriya with Melissa. During the time him and Melissa spent together, he began to show her and instruct her that the worlds of magic does exist. In fact, I think if you ask him a question, he might explain to you what he showed her. Besides, he was using magical power all day. Oh, that's right. Yeah, that stuff isn't easy to use. Completely forgot about that. Yeah, it doesn't work like a quirk. Then I'm going on to ask Midoriya exactly what did him and Melissa talk about. To which he has his face buried in his arms, not responding. Someone going on to shake his arm before his head does at least roll over to the side, and reveal that he's asleep. How did he... Must have been a greater toll on his body than we thought. Now, the girls do go on at least talking about how they all spent their day, and what happened. Oh, me and Midoriya did this, me and Midoriya did that, we went over here. Midoriya participated in the race portion where you have to destroy robots. He participated in these events over here. It's a whole different thing. Now, with that, let's say at least... that would probably be very funny. Let's say at least a couple of the guys do try their hand at asking the girls out on dates. Or at least to dance, you could say. Since they're still not really too sure as to the relationship between Midoriya and them. All being shot down in the process. Anyways, now. With that, Midoriya stays asleep for roughly about 10 minutes. After that time, Meliodas does walk in. Midoriya not only does he open his eyes, but he can understand and feel a certain magical power. That presence that he feels, it's familiar. And it doesn't make any sense. Meanwhile, the girls don't really think anything of it. The guy is probably just very attuned or resonates with magical power. They can't sense it as well as Midoriya. But Midoriya can feel it. That power is just like Fraudulent's. And it's even greater. Now, Midoriya just stays lying there, before Meliodas does take a seat next to him and lean backwards, beginning to speak. My, hello. Midoriya slowly getting up and turning to look at this man. This guy is short. And who might you be? Okay, think Midoriya. This guy can't be fraudulent. He's not like him. This doesn't make sense. Okay, it's probably just a false alarm. Keep your head cool. So, your name's Izuku Midoriya, is it not? Yeah. What about it? I'm a huge fan of yours. Really? So, do you want an autograph or something, or... Oh, no. I've just been keeping an eye on you. Keeping an eye on me? Oh, yes. Ever since Fraudulent failed. Midoriya turned to look at him. That brief relief that rushed over him is completely gone. And Meliodas, he at least begins to smirk sadistically, going on to state that Fraudulent failed his mission. He could not locate the goddess. However, Fraudulent was a very low-ranked demon. However, he did have potential. We thought that he could be part of the Ten Commandments. But he was useless. I made sure to take care of him myself. So, if he really was useless, then why are you here? Well, that is a good question. You see, I've been having trouble finding the goddess. And I wanted to see how your search was going. I'm not telling you anything. Oh, so you have found her. Is it that Melissa's shield woman, then? Now, Midoriya is frozen. Not really sure what to say. Going on to state that Melissa's shield is not the goddess. And how can I be too certain? In fact, I will go make sure myself then. Him going to stand up. Midoriya immediately throwing out his left arm and grabbing Meliodas by his wrist. Telling him like hell he is. He's telling him 100% the truth. Melissa's shield is not the goddess. She has nothing to do with this and she knows nothing about magic. Oh, really? Please, spare me your explanation. I've been watching you all day. In fact, I've even been giving you a little test throughout your day. And, well, not too good. However, you are going to make it up to me. Hmm? What the hell are you talking about? Well, it's quite simple. Within the next 5 minutes, this place is going to be attacked. Noria's eyes widening, as Meliodas goes on stating, by humans. They're trying to take something from this place. He doesn't know what it is. Or they're probably just trying to take it over. Midoriya is in charge of not only taking them all down, or killing them, but there's one little problem. He's going to be buffing up the commander, the one in charge. The commander, he's going to be the opponent. He's going to give him roughly about 10% of his strength. Meliodas lying through his teeth. This would be 10% of his normal strength if he was at full power. However, it's almost 3/4 or 75% of his actual strength currently. Now, with that being said, this is Midoriya's challenge. And Midoriya just asks what happens if he loses. Oh, simple. You don't want to find out. In fact, I plan on not only killing you, or trying to at least, but you're going to kill them. I'm going to make you wish for your own death. Or, I could quite simply just cast a spell and rip that soul out of you. What? Why, yes. Your body is immortal, not your soul. So if I wanted it, you could be dead. In fact, your body could just be standing there. Or just left there. Like a statue, for the rest of eternity. No one to find. No one to care. So, do you understand me, human? Fine. Fine? Was that it? Listen, just don't hurt them. Disappointing. Meliodas going on to leave. Now, as soon as Meliodas does walk out of the door, he takes flight. This being whenever a loud commotion can be heard, and Midoriya turns his head to the entirely other direction, watching as men with firearms begin to run in. Now, with that, they all immediately begin to take down the heroes. Being able to hit All Might on stage and make sure that he's immobilized. Meanwhile, Midoriya does try and rush in, trying to attack one of these men. Now, these men, yikes, they are not easy to get at. Whenever Midoriya tried to grab one of these things out of the air, it immediately was able to not only hit him in the arm, but it flung his arm backwards. And he got strapped to a chair with his right arm, being able to get up and try again. However, as soon as he did run past somebody, both him and her were actually basically stuck together. Now, with that being said, everyone is seemingly told to stay where they are, and that no one will get hurt if they all comply. Meanwhile, everyone else, or at least the Canon Class 1A members, are hiding. All of them trying to figure out what's going on, and who's accounted for. Now, with that, they begin to try and make plans to get out. But let's cut over to Midoriya. Him kind of confused as to what just happened, along with trying to get his right arm free. Trying to at least break up his left arm and try to hold onto the chair so he can try and pull his right arm out. Meanwhile, you do have the person he's connected to, or at least tied to, Melissa, who is kind of shocked at what happened. How are these guys invading the island? Hmm? I don't know. But listen, right now we need to work on getting out. One of the men walking over and instructing Midoriya. If he tries to get out, he's gonna put a bullet in his head. Just try it, asshole. A surprised look of confusion coming onto this guy's face. A lot of bravado for you, kid. Oh, please. A bullet in my head is nothing. Exactly who are you? I don't see how this is any of your concern. Midoriya says before he's able to get a hold on the chair with his left arm, before yanking his right arm as hard as he can, being able to dislocate it at the elbow, before beginning to slip it out. As soon as he does that, the guy does grab Midoriya by his arm and smash it onto the ground, and begin to just step on it, before putting a bullet in it. As soon as it does happen, Midoriya begins to heal up, and his arm is able to reconnect. As soon as that does happen, the guy started to walk away. Midoriya already tried to get to work on getting himself free. Meanwhile, you do have Melissa, who's basically instructing Midoriya not to get a bit too handsy, since he's trying to get free. Now, with that being said, Midoriya does somewhat have a plan. And it's going to be a bit tricky if it doesn't work out well. Now, Midoriya's entire plan is about a clone. Midoriya creates one and is actually able to not only drag him and Melissa underneath the table, but to have the clone begin to untie them, or at least rip apart these wires. Now, after they're able to at least, well, what's the best way of saying this? Breaking every bone in Midoriya's body and having him slip out of it, they're both able to get free. Meeting up with the Class 1A members who are all hiding. Now, the ones who know about the magic are actually all talking. And we do have Toru, who uses something that she finds to be interesting. She uses transparency magic. Basically, she creates, well, what's the best way of saying it? It's like a shield around someone's body. And you're able to actually make them either completely transparent, basically see-through or invisible, or at least see through different objects with it. Now, after everyone is made completely invisible, they're able to begin the process of sneaking off. Meanwhile, Midoriya, he does have a bit of a plan, trying to look for this leader. Now, with that being said, we do at least have Kirishima and Bakugo, who got lost looking for the party. They were made aware of the lockdown a little while after they got inside the building. Now, I'm going to be trying to summarize a little bit of these parts. Basically, they begin to get to the top of the building. Whenever it comes time for everyone to get separated, where, let's see, Todoroki, Bakugo, and Kirishima would have left the group in canon, that still does stay the same. However, the difference is, they are not only stronger, but they're going up against a little bit stronger enemies. These guys have also been augmented by Meliodas' magic. Meliodas didn't specify that the boss would be at full power yet. So, they begin to fight off against these these two villains, I believe, if I remember correctly. Now, with that being said, that does happen. Then they head to the giant room, where they basically were, what was it? There's entire rows upon rows of robots. Jiro, and I want to say Mina, do actually stay behind to try and deal with this threat. along with Ida, and I want to say Mineta here. Now, they do get to the server room with all the delicate hardware. That room being a bit more tricky. The people who do get left behind here are actually going to be Diane, Toga, and Ochako. These three, their quirks, they can at least either disable things or neutralize the robots. Momo, she can create things using her magic. In fact, she and Kendo do share one skill. They can both create objects out of the earth. And this magical ability is coming in hand a lot. And you do have Ochako, who not only is she able to run around at a good amount of speed and tap onto robots, she's able to wave her hands around and immediately just close them up in a fist, being able to lift up robots and keep them airborne. And Diane, she is running around using boost magic. Basically the magical ability to allow yourself to increase one's own physical speed. It is like critical overdrive, but it does not have the same drawback. Whereas critical overdrive will turn your raw magical power or magical stamina into pure strength, boost barely requires any. The trade-off being it's not as damaging to your body in the long run. Now, while they are all doing that, the group is fairly at slim pickings now. Everyone is somewhere holding off a threat. And at this point, it's only Deku, Melissa, Kendo, and I want to say, let's see. Yeah, I believe, Froppy and Toga. Now, everyone, they are basically, well, in the long run, trying to fight for their lives. Whenever it gets to the point where Ochako should have been there to boost them up into the air, to get them into the building, this is how the entire exchange does go. Midoriya basically using his bare hands and trying to smash the robots over and over and over again, while trying to understand where they need to go. Melissa basically pointing up and saying that up there at that level. Midoriya trying to get confirmation. Before Kendo and Froppy do actually look and see where they're pointing. Kendo telling Froppy to throw her. What? Listen to me. Just do it. I can make an opening. As soon as you get me up there, I can help them. Then I can come back right here and help you out. Froppy getting ready. Wrapping her tongue around Kendo and launching her as hard as she can that direction. As soon as that does happen, Kendo does begin to build up momentum. Before, she hardens her body to metal, or steel, cocking back her hand and smashing through the wall with a giant fist. As soon as that does happen, she actually is beginning to fall backwards. And she goes barreling down at high speeds, trying to flip over and brace herself for landing. However, Midoriya does actually throw up his arm and use his quirk, being able to have the beam fly through the air and immediately grab her, before lowering her down and setting her down. Kendo saying thanks before running back into battle. Now, at that point, Midoriya does actually grab Melissa, picking her up and bending his knees. He really hopes that this works. Getting a step back before launching himself forward straight at the wall. As soon as it does happen, he brings his leg up and steps onto it, putting down as much pressure as he can and launching himself upwards, throwing out his left hand. As soon as he throws out his left hand, he's able to grab onto the fan and yank as hard as he can on it. not only ripping the fan off the side of the building, but also launching himself up higher, before he's able to actually grab onto what he needs to and climb in. As soon as that does happen, Melissa, she's kind of, well, what's the best way to say? Completely and utterly, well, disoriented. And she does get back up. Midoriya and her fighting their way to the vault, where that piece of Quark tech is hidden. As soon as they do get there, Midoriya comes face to face with the man. And seeing him, the man doesn't have any magical power, but Meliodas did say that he was buffing him up. Midoriya immediately sprinting to the right and going to try and at least get the guy away from Melissa. Now, Midoriya begins to use boost all throughout the room, increasing his speed each time he activates the magic, beginning to slowly eat away at the remaining stamina that he does have. Now, with that being said, the man is just launching metal all around the room, trying to hit and pulverize Midoriya. David's shield basically having to beg the man to spare the boy's life, and to just simply just give him back his invention. It was never supposed to fall into the wrong hands. The man immediately turning and shooting David's shield, before Melissa does actually retaliate, going to run out forwards. As soon as she does, the man quite simply just turns his attention towards her, and holds up the gun, before Melissa does just simply bring her hands up. The man smirking before remembering this girl is corkless, before the gun comes flying out of his hand, and it flies past Melissa. The moment of shock that's on his face disappearing as Midoriya is able to actually smash him in the face with his right arm, and send the man flying towards the wall. Before that does actually happen though, he's able to get back up, and Midoriya just starts to run in his direction. The man using the metal underneath Midoriya's feet and throwing it upwards, being able to have a entire, well, I guess you'd call it a, it comes from the ground up, and it basically just shoots out towards Midoriya like a shotgun blast, hitting him in his vital organs, his arms, his legs, along with his throat and his head. Midoriya basically being impaled in all these different parts of his body, along with the, well, results being that he's then thrown up into the ceiling, before Wolfenstein does begin to try and make his exits. Midoriya's body sliding down the metal bars before it does eventually come to the ground. Now, with that, Class 1A is able to disable the security measures for the party, and All Might does actually get free, similar to Canon, however just a little bit faster. Now, with that, David's shield, watching Midoriya die, basically begins to cry, understanding that he just caused the death of this young boy. Now, David's shield did not participate in watching the sports festival for UA, and he does actually begin to watch as Midoriya, his hand is actually beginning to twitch, before he quite simply just balls his hands in a fist and mumbles some words under his breath. That immediately being whenever Midoriya is able to actually get his hands underneath him and launch himself straight up into the air, not only breaking the bars, but flying directly through the roof. Melissa watching in shock. Meanwhile, we do have Wolfenstein, who is on the roof, and a chopper and getting out of the situation. As soon as he does begin to leave, Midoriya comes blasting out from, well, the ground, before beginning to get on his feet, looking at the chopper and watching as it begins to fly away. Wolfenstein trying to use his power or his quirk to get the metal around Midoriya and try and stab it into his body. However, Midoriya just shouts once again, critical overdrive. Before just beginning to power up, basically. His body beginning to bulge with muscle. And his magical power beginning to actually show. Midoriya has a, pink mist coming around his body. Or purple steam. My bad. Now, Midoriya launches himself outwards towards the helicopter. And he's flying towards it. As soon as he does actually bring his hand out and have a crazed look on his face, we do have All Might, who immediately is able to jump into the air and actually hit the helicopter by punching it upwards. As soon as that does happen, the helicopter swings to the side and Midoriya is heading straight for its blades. Before anything can happen though, Midoriya just throws out his arms, being able to actually grab onto the two of the blades and completely stop it from turning. Being able to actually get his feet underneath him and rip off the helicopter blades. As soon as that does happen, he just drops them. As those begin to fall towards the ground, Midoriya then actually does try climbing into the cockpit, beginning by trying to grab away at Wolfenstein, who has already put on the quirk enhancing technology. As soon as that did happen, everything in the helicopter began to shoot towards Midoriya's direction, and Midoriya was blasted away. As Wolfenstein did begin to create this ginormous mass of technology, or metal, improving his quirk. Along with that, it did begin to show off the dark power, or the demon blessing Meliodas gave him. Not only did his quirk increase, he found that his magical abilities seemingly increased, or abilities that he was unaware of with his quirk, as he called them. And being able to throw up his hands and feel his strength increase over 100 times. Now, with that, Midoriya just simply began to rush in, being able to smash away at anything the man does throw at him, along with All Might. Meanwhile, everyone from canon does actually begin to look and see what's going on. Kendo actually going on to use a magical ability, full size before trying to join in on the fight. Then we do have Momo, who does actually begin to try and manipulate the earth with Kendo. Kirishima who does join in using One for All, Bakugo using explosions, and Todoroki using his own quirk along with a mixture of fire and ice magic. Now, we also do have Mina, and I want to say Jiro. All of these people are going above and beyond, all trying to try their best and fight against this magical threats and technological threats. Now, Midoriya is just using critical overdrive over and over and over again. At this point, his magical power, I want to say, is somewhere around 17,000 to 22. So it would be able to rival, or at least be around, a suppressed Meliodas. Now, everyone is fighting in conjunction against his threats, and Midoriya is able to get close enough, being able to sock the man directly in the gut and send him flying out of this giant creation. Before Midoriya does actually jump off of it, and both of his legs snap off in the process. Midoriya grabbing onto the man as the two begin to fly downward straight towards the island, smashing and hitting down, before getting back up. However, they did land in the amusement park, and the man does actually begin to manipulate all the metal and try and send it at Midoriya, along with actually trying to rush in himself and kill Midoriya, unaware that he's immortal. Midoriya not only being able to dodge some of the weapons or creations, but he's able to actually withstand them, being able to grab them and throw them away from his body or just punch through them, getting metal in his hands and having them heal over and over again, before being able to rush in and immediately grab the man, punching him directly in the gut as the man actually does retaliate by throwing another punch at Midoriya, sending him not only flying away, but actually smashing into a Ferris wheel. After that has happened, Midoriya begins to get wrapped up, and told by the man that All For One wants this creation. Midoriya's eyes widening and saying All For One is dead. Kid, you don't really know who All For One is, do you? I know exactly who that bastard is. He killed my mother. Figures. But I'll tell you one thing. This is his. It's rightfully his. You bastard. Midoriya actually just turning his hand and his wrist, being able to use his quirk. As soon as he does do that, he's able to rip the device off the back of this guy's head, immediately bring it to his hand and flip it around, being able to break his arm away from this metal piece and sock him across the face, before grabbing the quirk enhancing technology and staring at it for a second, reluctantly putting it to the back of his head and beginning to fight with it, feeling his quirk increase. Now, with that being said, while the man is beginning to decrease in technological power, he is still maintaining the magical power. Watching as Midoriya's body gets completely, surrounded in a purple hue. And he can no longer see Midoriya's face. For Midoriya, he has done one single thing: enhanced his quirk to the point of complete and total weaponization, as he is now looking like this. Midoriya quickly rushing in, being able to actually throw out a punch, directly hitting Wolfenstein as he actually does bring up both of his arms to try and block. Meanwhile, you do have Meliodas who's just watching. The boy is actually doing very well. Wolfenstein only holds about 30 to 40% of his magical power. So, let's see what the boy can do. Now, Wolfenstein, he actually exists because I almost bit my tongue. He almost gets sent flying away, but with his arms blocking it, he only broke one of them, being able to try and come back in an attack. Midoriya just being able to throw out his arm as it elongates, flying throughout the entire, battlefield, and immediately grabbing him, pulling him directly towards Midoriya, as Midoriya actually does just begin by punching him across the face, over and over and over again, swinging him over his head and slamming him down into the ground, over and over. As soon as it has happened, Midoriya, in a somewhat unaudible tone, begins to scream out. Midoriya just screaming out critical overdrive over and over and over again, as his body is beginning to come to the toll, or succumb to it. Midoriya just begins by punching down over and over again into the villain. And it gets to the point where these two, they're going directly through the island. They've already gone through not only all the landmass, but also the safety buoys, or the things that make the floating island a floating island. Now, after that does happen, you do have All Might and everyone else. They are currently trying to handle the stragglers and all the rest of the villains. Meanwhile, All Might is trying to find out exactly what's going on. He's never seen magical abilities or quirks like everyone else just showed off right now. Trying to get information from Kendo, along with Momo. No, not much is really said. However, they do state that they will all explain it later. Now, with that being said, All Might, he actually does hear this emergency, as Island's entire radio system or their broadcast system begins to state that there is a, safety malfunction. Island is now at least at a 92% risk of sinking. that the emergency buoys, or at least deployments, have not been released. And in order to make sure that the island does actually stay afloat, these need to be released. The automated security and/or release measures have either been disabled, tampered with, or possibly even destroyed. And this all needs to happen within the next 10 to 15 minutes in order to ensure the safety of everyone else on the island. The broadcast then repeating. As Midoriya, he's just punching away at this man, completely in his own worlds. Everything else around him is gone. Everything else in his mind isn't there. Until one thing does actually happen. Someone comes up behind Midoriya and tries to get his attention. Midoriya cocking back his hand and trying to throw it out forwards, before it actually does just stop. Midoriya turning around and trying to throw a punch at whoever this was, before there's something just catch his hand again. So you've done well. However, I didn't expect this. You look just like one of those creatures from Purgatory. Interesting. So you've gone feral or insane. Should have expected this. Meliodas then going on to rip the device off the back of Midoriya's head, before Midoriya does actually begin to shrink down, along with his body beginning to give out from extensive use or overuse of critical overdrive. As soon as it does happen, Midoriya suffers from not only massive brain failure, his eardrums exploded, his eyes exploded, most of his body, well, either should have fallen off or have rotted. His muscles are completely overused, and he's completely out of stamina. Meliodas giving Midoriya a second before he does regenerate his hearing and his sight, before simply just announcing that Midoriya has almost passed his test. However, he will give him one thing. That magical threat that he just took on was actually impressive. In fact, he actually subtracted some of his strength, just to try and give Midoriya a bit of a better chance. You bastard. Along with that wasn't even most of my strength. I lied to you. What? Yes. In fact, if I'm being honest with you, I only gave you, not even half. What? That's not possible. Yep. Anyways, I'm taking this man's soul here. Meliodas holding up Mr. Shield, saying that he's fairly certain that this man is important. Plus, he might be able to help him. If he's able to research and make something that can help with technology and quirks or whatever those things are called, then he'll definitely be an asset to finding the goddess. Now, Midoriya tries to stand on his own feet and try to go out to attack. Meliodas just watching Midoriya throw his hand directly into his chest, and nothing does happen. Before he just begins to state a few words. Midoriya trying to bring up his other arm and throw another punch. Now, with that, Midoriya just begins to throw punches that have no power behind them at Meliodas, while Meliodas takes Mr. Shield's soul. As soon as he does that, he just begins to instruct Midoriya. He is going to find a vessel for this, completely untraceable. However, there is one thing that he can do to get it back. What? Now? Another test. However, you're going to have to go to the land of the dead. Yes. Go to the land of the dead and make sure the goddess is not there. Bastard. Either way, it does not matter. Now, As Midoriya does actually bring up his arm to throw another punch, Meliodas simply waves up his hand. Midoriya immediately having a ginormous gash not only cover most of his torso, but up to his neck and up to his face, before he actually does get sent flying backwards. Now, as that has happened, Midoriya, he does pass out, before waking up on an airplane, and being instructed about everything that happened. Whatever just happened, it destroyed Island. Most of the research and databases were backed up. However, the entire amusement park, hotels, and everything else were lost. And there is at least one problem. Now, Midoriya doesn't see how there's only just one problem. Going on to ask about Mr. Shields, before someone actually does go on stating that that's just it. Mr. Shield has not yet woken up. However, they are kind of confused. Whatever damage was caused whenever they found Midoriya and him was massive. Not just that, there was a large crater followed by a large slice in the ground. It cut through everything 100 feet after the crater. Asking exactly what caused that. Midoriya not really giving an answer, just saying that he does not know, before bringing his hand up, asking where Mr. Shield is. Melissa going on to state that her dad's asleep. Asleep? Yes. He's, asleep in the, well, back of the plane. Is he alright? He'll be fine. However, Midoriya, I do have a question. Sure. Your quirk, how fast does it repair injured tissue? Instantaneously. Why? Well, some people going on stating. Momo going on to create a mirror. And Midoriya actually does grab it and look at it. A look of worry and shock appears on his face, watching as the injury that he apparently suffered from has completely healed. However, it actually did leave behind a massive gash wound, or at least a massive scar wound, not only by his neck, but his lower neck and the side of his left arm, or at least the left shoulder and upper left cheek. What the hell? This is new? Yes, young man, but there is a limit to your quirk. You must remember that. All Might going on to at least try and sound cheerful. Melissa turning her head and staring at him for a second, realizing that All Might doesn't know. Yeah, All Might, I'm sure there is, but I don't understand this. I'm supposed to be immortal. How the hell am I able to get a scar? I've been burned, lit on fire, shot at, exploded, literally torn to bits. What the hell? That demon. His power did this, didn't it? Shit. Damn it. Now, with that being said, they do all get to the mainland. And begin to at least try and sort out everything going on. Now, with that being said, I do hope you guys enjoyed. And have an amazing night. I'll catch you guys in the next part.